I think maybe everybody's in here at this point. If anybody trickles in, then that's okay too. Been told I got to keep this microphone in front of my mouth, so I'm going to really try hard on that. So my name is Alyse Klupenger. I am about to work for Valley View Health Centers. That's my about to be my new job that I start on Monday. So I might as well tote that. I am a therapist, and I was asked to come here today to kind of speak more about how we can care for ourselves as caregivers when we are a caregiver full time, because often that is not given as a priority. We put everybody else ahead of ourselves, and then we're burnt out. So I'm here to just kind of discuss that more, ways that we can reframe it. A lot of what I want to do is give you guys some validation also about what you're going through and how each of these things that you go through in life affect you, and just kind of ways to handle it in a better way. So, did I push it? There we go. So, like I said, I'm a therapist. The last couple of years, I've worked in a school system as like a district social worker, mental health coordinator kind of person. That has been an interesting piece of my career. Before that, I had just been doing office-based therapy with children, adolescents, young adults for a good decade, and kind of some other things in between. But moving into the school is a different beast, and depending on where your kids are in age, I'm sure you know that too, is that schools kind of operate as their own entity a lot of times, and their beliefs and their culture. And when you come in and you're there and you need to advocate for your kid, they're not always on the same page. So it's a hard thing going in there, because was the basis of my job, was to kind of help advocate for the mental health services, build programs. And again, then that's a little bit why I'm leaving, is because they decided, after the COVID dollars were gone, that it wasn't as important anymore, which we all can look and see that the mental health of our kids, of our society, is really struggling at this point. So, like I said, I've worked in schools. I've been a therapist. I've done parent education. I did that for many years along the side, because when you're working with kids, you're kind of helping the parents too, just to kind of get there. And I also serve on our county. I'm in Ross County, which is in Southern Ohio. So I have served on their Human Rights Committee of the Board of DD there for the last 12 years. So that's a piece where I get to advocate, and I'm a part of that committee. Kind of started out as being just a community member, but then I ended up filling the role of guardian, because so I'm the legal guardian of my older brother, he has what's called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, and he has seizure. It's a seizure disorder, kind of neurodegenerative. So when my mom couldn't really do that, I stepped in and became his guardian about 10 years ago. So I've kind of different roles, different pieces. I don't know, my experience is not yours. We all have our own experiences, and but I want to just hopefully bring some things that can help you along the way. So, all right. So a lot of what I'm going to talk through is discussing just different stages that we go through. When you first learn that your child is different, and that could have happened to some of you in pregnancy, could have been at birth, could be a couple years down the road when you start to realize, hey, this is not typical. I'll use that word typical. I do not like the word normal, and even, typical, we just kind of lump it as, okay, these are behaviors that we see more often than not. So we all have, when you learn something is happening, initial shock, you're saying, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. Why? And especially as a parent, we have that thought of, what is my life going to be like as a parent? Who am I going to be as a parent? What is my child going to be? Who are they going to be? What are they going to look like? What are they going to excel at? We have these hopes and dreams from the moment we know we're going to be parents, or that we even want to be parents. And then when you learn that your child is different, that's that's a big change. So that's where it hits that shock. And you kind of have to start to redirect. Um, so we change in the narratives, and our society has a lot to do with that too. I mean, we see things, what's on TV all over the place. It's typical families a lot of the time. And so then you just feel even more like, okay, we're different. And why doesn't anyone else understand what we're going through? So everybody has different reactions, and those are normal. Over and over again, we'll probably say that too, is that different reactions and different emotions are normal and typical. There's not, while there are different phases and kind of um, different emotions that are typical, again, there's not one that's like, okay, you're not normal because you're in this or that. Um, Parents and caregivers are not always in the same phase at the same time. You may jump from one phase to another phase and then go back to a phase at a different time throughout it when you learn new things or experience new challenges in this parenting. So there's a piece where it's important to recognize, like, if you're not in the same emotion or in same emotional state or phase as your partner in caregiving, that can be really hard. And they do say, parents and caregivers who have children with special needs, there's a higher rate for divorce because of these challenges. And it's not, it's, again, you're putting your energy and your time into your children and your child. And we have to be able to step back and say, okay, we have this other relationship that we have to put time into too. That's part of the caring for yourself, because you want to have a strong unit and a strong team. And it doesn't mean you can't do it on your own. I don't even want you to think I'm saying that either. Absolutely single parents can do it and can kick butt for sure on it. But you need a team also too. You're usually going to have some family members, you're going to have other people. We have parents. I'm sure you have your parents or your other relatives who have things to say about what you should do and where you should be. And kind of tethering that out and figuring out what's important for you and your situation, your family. So it's okay to talk about feelings. It's important to talk about feelings. When we, a lot of times I talk to kids, talk to young kids, and I'm surprised at the amount of how kids can't identify even basic emotions a lot anymore. We're so tied into, scrolling and flipping in this instant gratification world that kids can't even figure out, like, oh, like I am sad or I am bored, they're immediately bored because right, it happens quickly. But I'm hungry, even like kids are ignoring basic needs. So I think that adults were kind of falling into that too. We get so caught up in just like, okay, how do I make this? How do I forget about this real quick? Instead of being able to say, okay, what is happening with me? What do I feel? There's a lot of brain research behind saying this whole like name it to tame it. Like when you are able to name the emotion and the feeling that you have, it helps chill it out. It really does. It's one of those things that just kind of, oh, okay. It gives you more control. Being able to say, man, I am feeling really disappointed that this is not what I expected it to be. Or I feel guilty. Like, what did I do? There's a lot of that that's in there. And when you're able to say that's what the feeling I'm feeling is, it's easier to figure out then how to handle it. So, I mean, and it's important to, maintain that inner balance that we have and keep all the relationships happy. So also, I'm reviewing, I'm going to talk about each one of these a little bit more, but, think about how emotions, when we don't know what it is, or if we, it can be misplaced onto other things and other people. If we get upset about something somewhere at work and then we come home, a lot of times our family is the one that takes the brunt of that, when it's really not the anger for our family. It's something else altogether. And our kids, okay, we've had a long day and then this and that. And then as soon as you get home, the kid needs you with all of your might. And you just need a break. You just need 5 minutes, but there's no 5 minutes there. So that's the importance of being able to carve out and find that 5 minutes if you can, where you can, so that you can come in better. When we get on an airplane and they teach us, the life-saving techniques. What do they tell you first about when the mask comes out? What do they tell you? Yes, take care of yourself first. Because if you don't have that mask on, how are you going to get it on your kid? I mean, you have to. And that's our life, is that we have to be able to take care of ourselves first. Sounds great. I know it does. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It is. It's a lot. It's a lot. And our brain can really only handle so many pieces of information at one time before it just shuts down. There's a lot of studies that show, okay, a little bit of stress is great for us. It motivates us. It says, hey, you got to get this done. But too much stress, shut down. We cannot process it. So we've got to be able to kind of break things down. Okay. Because that stress, that's biological. When we are stressed, that cortisol floods our system. It shuts down, this prefrontal cortex that helps us to just calm, regulate, balance our emotions. We're in total, limbic system fight or flight mode. Okay. So denial, typical first, these are the stages of grief. And you go through them when you find out something shocking about your life. You're grieving all of the things you thought could have been, all of the things you wanted, all of the, you're grieving your time. You're grieving, okay, I'm not going to have as much time to do this or that. You're grieving just so many things. So it begins with denial, and that's another biological thing, is like the function of denial is to protect us. And temporarily, it can't last forever, but for temporary times, it protects us from those really strong and tumultuous emotions. It's a defense mechanism. So we can then, okay, we're in denial. We're saying, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is what's actually happening. And it helps us function at that point. It also keeps us optimistic. Like, okay, this could be something else. This may not be what I'm going to have to deal with. And again, that helps us function. We are in a lot of times survival. How can we survive in this moment? We're not going to be optimal all the time. We're surviving. But long-term denial, can lead to physical manifestations. When we are pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, like this is not happening, a lot of times it really will. The body has its way of just saying, yeah, no, you're going to have to figure this out. It can cause, loss of sleep, start to have stomach issues, start to just, that chronic stress affects your body. And so that might be the point where you say, okay, I have to deal with this. But I think at that point, yeah, you're hurting yourself too. You got more work to do. So a lot of times we have these, where parents or caregivers might say, well, or even you might get this as from another family member, where say, well, like I was just like him when I was a kid, so it'll be all right. When they get older, they'll grow out of it, or they'll figure it out. Well-intentioned family members or friends. Does that help it? Does it help you feel better? No, that doesn't give us a solution. That's basically just saying, oh, it'll be all right. Band-aid it. Right. Yeah. She's saying right, right. Not the same thing. Yeah. So that does not help. Um, because then it leads you to disregard a lot of times the professional recommendations of saying, that goes along with I'm the only one that understands my child. Where, okay, well, the professional's saying this is what would be best, but I have been the one who has been there from the start, who has, been up all the late nights, who's worried, who's poured over the information. I know better. Well, also that can, that's the piece of denial where you're saying, okay, I don't know what to do. And I don't know if this professional knows right. And that again can set things back at times where you're saying, and it's good to be skeptical of some things. I mean, absolutely, we can't trust, okay, if this is exactly what is the best, but being able to listen, using that optimistic mind again of, okay, this could be helpful. Let's see what it is. Sometimes like at school where you feel your child gets school age and you feel like, okay, my child doesn't need to be in a special program. I want them to be included. Inclusion is very important. But if your team, the team that's involved, comes to an agreement and saying, okay, this is not the least restrictive environment, because that's what the school goes to. What's the least in the restrictive environment to educate your child. Then like, and you push and you push and you say, I'm not going to send my kid to into the special program. Are you helping the kid there? Sometimes we're putting our own, wants and needs before what could be the best. So being able to recognize when you're feeling that, when you're in denial, you're saying, hey, of course we don't want it to be this, but what is going on? When one parent's in denial and the other one's not, there's again that conflict that can happen in the main relationship. And it really does. It can tear it apart. This is one of the important pieces, I think, where you might need to bring someone else in to, or go seek help from someone else. We have to be able to recognize what's a point where we can handle ourselves and we can take time out and we can do self-care, or when it's too much and we need someone else to help guide us. Being able to speak with someone who's a neutral party, to say, yeah, I'm on your side and I'm on your side. And let's figure out how you guys can work together in a better way. Because that really will break it up. It ends up feeling like, well, okay, it's me and my child against you, or it's divided. So not a great place to be. So as this self-care, we have to figure out how to train our brain to re-regulate. So figuring out time. So this can be those times of, okay, I need 5 minutes. If that's all you can get in a day, or, is 5 minutes, that's better than nothing. Because sometimes we think, okay, well, just because I can't go to this yoga class, or I'm not going to get my 2 hours to go hike through the woods, or, I just don't have time or energy to call my friend and talk to him. 5 minutes, 10 minutes of yourself, your own time. You got to figure out. It's different for everybody. Like I can tell you, you should take a bubble bath, but not everybody likes bubble baths. And that's, not going to be relevant for everyone. But like what makes you feel good? What is relaxing to you? Maybe it is friends. Some people really are. They like to be alone. Like they need that. Okay, I have to have solitary time. I have to go, sit out on your back porch by yourself if you can get away for a few minutes, or wherever. Other people are social. That's really where they find their peace, is like with other people, is saying, okay, I need to talk to somebody. I need to process. So, think in your head, like, what are some of these activities that you enjoy and that just really bring more of that peace and calm to you? And think of it. And you got to schedule it. We feel guilty. We feel guilty for taking time away. We feel selfish for that. But again, back to the who are we taking care of? If we are not okay, we cannot. We're burning the candle on both ends and it's gone. So you're training your brain to find that peace. That can be, just like breathing. I can teach you all kinds of different strategies I take, talk to kids about, but basic grounding activities that help you to calm. So we always have our breath. I think that's the one, that everybody can learn. There's different breathing strategies out there. My favorite is 4-7-8 breathing. You breathe in for 4 through your nose, hold it for 7, and breathe out your mouth for 8. That one they've done research on. They show that it really helps switch you into the parasympathetic nervous system and calm you down. So I teach that to every kid that comes in my door. Just learn this breathing. And not everybody likes that one. If you try that one, doesn't, but there's box breathing. Depends on what kind of person you are, but find something that is your go-to, because breathing, especially, it's always with us. Like I said, we don't need any special tools. It's this, and it biologically affects us to calm us down if we can, if you engage and do it right. And just like anything, you have to practice it. You can't later on when you're feeling and your brain's already flipped, go, oh, well, she mentioned this 4-7-8, like I'm gonna try that out. It's not gonna work as well. Then you're gonna give up on it and never try it again. But the important thing is okay, try it, practice it. Before you go, you're laying down in bed tonight, eventually it's quiet and you can close your eyes. Maybe do that a few times. Do this 4-7-8 and see how it affects your body and calms it down. Because then it's a tool. The more you do it, then you're going to have that muscle memory. Then you're in the stressful situation, you can recall it. You can help calm your body down. That's a tool. Put in your toolbox. And then, I think, like, recognize that your child is still your child. Like, you deserve to still have these good experiences with your child. So being able to, spend that time and really see them, use that child's mind to look at your child, that curiosity, that, okay, what can I do today just to kind of see them and spend that little bit of time so that you're connecting again. And you're not only focused on, okay, what do I have to do for them and to have growth and to, get them going, but just to let them be and love them, and they're a child. And then that other one is, you're all here, so you understand the importance of this, is talk with other parents who've been through the same thing. It helps to find that community and to know that you're not the only one out there doing it, that you have other people who understand your same trials. And you can get a lot of good advice from each other. It really is so important. So when the shock wears off and the brain says, okay, we're ready to move forward. We've been in denial. We know something's going on. We gotta figure out what's next. So a lot of times this is where we say mama bear, a lot of times it's papa bear too, but that mode comes in where you're just like, all right, this is happening. I'm mad about it. What am I going to do? It motivates. It definitely brings that surge of, okay, what can I do now? But it's like, why can't I fix this? As a parent, we are built to say, okay, you got a problem? I want to make it better. This, you're like, okay, why can't I just fix it? Why don't I have that, immediate solution? So this is, anger is driven a lot of times from fear, that fear of, again, okay, what's the future going to look like? What's my future going to look like? Am I going to lose other relationships in this? The fear of how are other people going to look at me? What are the neighbors going to think? What's the rest of my family going to think? A lot of that fear drives that anger. And it really does affect our parenting. Again, evolutionary, that mama bear mode comes out because it's that protection. It's that, okay, something's wrong. I have to protect my child with every mean. But it's just at the surface of anger. So, anger is there. It causes all these biological responses, and it can lead to long-term bitterness too. Like if you let the anger be the primary emotion driving you, nothing feels good. And think about how that affects relationships. Like if your partner is always angry all the time, angry in the house, angry at this and that, how does that affect it? It typically brings us down too. The tone is set and it matches. So we have to find a way to handle that and discharge that emotion in a more positive way, which is still some of this self-care, like basic things. Are we eating when we need to eat? Are we sleeping enough? Probably never. Um, are we just taking care of our body? Like, are we moving it like we need to? Are we attending our own doctor appointments and self-care, our checkups, even going to the eye doctor and the dentist? There's basic needs that, yeah, we should think about. But when you're focused on your kid, you let those things go. And then when you think about it, you get angry because, well, why am I not? Why can't I? Or why isn't this person helping me? It affects all the relationships. And kids that are raised in homes where there's more anger and conflict are typically have more behavior and mood issues because that's what they're becoming hardwired to feel. So we have got to figure out ways, to handle this anger. It's contagious almost, also when you go into places and you handle things with people, like when you go into the school, you're fired up about the school. They don't want to give this accommodation. They don't want to hear you out and do what your kid needs. If you go in there raging bull, how do you think that meeting is going to go? It's usually not great because you're defensive, you're not hearing, they see the anger. I mean, and it's intimidating. It was intimidating for me as a school personnel to be in meetings, like IEP meetings where everybody's there at the table. As the parent coming in, it's almost like everybody's sitting. It's like they've already had this other meeting before you even get there. They know what they want to do. And here you are, coming in. And I mean, it's hard. Because a lot of times in those meetings, you don't feel heard. You don't feel like you're getting what you need to get. And you leave angry. And then you're angry at the school. And, it can be, again, misplaced. Because then it can be like, is this a school? Or now I'm mad at this teacher, which this teacher could be really great. Could be awesome for the child. But we're mad at the school because they're not letting it happen. So we really have to try to step back and say, okay, how am I going to go and approach this? What am I bringing to this meeting that's going to be productive? And that could even be like, stop before you walk in that room, stop and breathe, gain that sense of calm again. Remember what is your agenda and what you want for the outcome. Because a lot of times in these situations we have to remember, what is it that we're really here for? Am I here to just show you all that I'm really mad? Or am I here to make sure that my child is getting what they need? Because you're not always going to be the most productive to show them that you're mad instead of saying, okay, here's this documentation. Because in those meetings, I mean, again, I'm Ohio. I know we got different states and different places represented, but there are laws and that need to be followed by schools. And I mean, I know in Ohio we do have the Ohio Coalition, and they will come and help advocate for you. Search for those resources. If you feel like in your school you're not getting what you need to get, or you're in your program, seek it out. Look for advocacy places that will come and be able to. They know the laws a whole lot more, and they can hold the schools to it because, yeah, it's rough. They want to push. So, let's see. Yeah. So blame is not productive. Remembering that blaming someone else for something, it doesn't get anywhere. It brings up the hard feelings. It's not good. So some of these coping skills, this stop thing, it's taken from this mindfulness based stress reduction program. John Kabat-Zinn is the founder of this mindfulness, and hopefully, I mean, it's become a bigger buzzword across everywhere as you hear about mindfulness and be mindful. And it seems like that's so easy, but it's hard. Again, we have to shut our brains down and try to cultivate this sense of peace and being present. Mindful in a nutshell is just being able to be in the moment and live your life where you're at. Because if we're spending all of our time worrying about what has happened in the past or what could happen in the future, we are not here, and we're missing life that is here. And what right here is what we have control over. It really is. This is where we can take action. We can't go back. We can plan for the future, but we also can't predict what's going to happen in the future. So we got to live in this moment. So being mindful, So being able to stop, this is what this stop. So you just stop, recognize, look around, take a breath, and that calm and peace in your body. Observe how you're feeling, observe your emotions, what's happening, and then proceed. And this could take you a few minutes, could take you a little bit longer than that. And just this is that maybe consciously what you should do before you go into something that could be high intensity, or you're already in it. The kid is having a behavior outburst. And is there anything, they're safe. Is there anything I can do right now? I got to stop. Because before I proceed, I don't want to go in with that anger. I got to stop, take a breath, observe what's happening, and then proceed. Because that's part of this acceptance that we'll get to. Reframing, seeing things from a different perspective. It's not always, thinking, oh, the school's out to get me. They don't believe me or my child. But it could be just, okay, the school is held to their own set of rules and regulations too. Because they really are, like the intervention specialist has to still listen to the special services director who still has to listen to, there's chains of command and how we go about it. So reframe like, okay, they're doing what they have to do. I'm doing what I have to do, but how can we work together? Not they're always out to get me or your family, when they're coming with their well-intentioned advice and things. Okay, they care about me. They're trying to help. They're trying to do what they know how to do at this point. And take a break. Ask for help. How easy is it to ask for help? It's pretty hard, and it seems easy. We can tell everybody to do it, but actually doing it and putting it into play, not so easy. And that can be, finding those people who can you trust to take a break. And I'm saying, yeah, it's lovely if you can get a night away. What kind of idea is that? But even 10 minutes, I'm saying, is going to be beneficial for you just to find yourself again. And we can rewire. That's kind of the basis of that mindfulness based stress reduction, is that we can, our brain has this neuroplasticity, and we can rewire some of the ways that we handle things the more we do it. Just like bringing those breathing practices into place, the more you do it, then it does. It starts to say, okay, I don't have to jump to this. I can go another way. You're changing that loop and that narrative in your brain. And I think it's also important to bring in, like physical contact when you can. Hug. When is the time you say, like, okay, you and your partner, or you and, if you got a good friend or somebody, just hug. And at least 20 seconds. You want to let this, we have the oxytocin in our brain. That's how when we're new mothers, we bond. And it's so important, they want fathers to do skin to skin and stuff these days, but it really does release these chemicals in our brain that promote that bond, that promote that calm. So hugging each other sometimes really can just like say, all right, this is taking a break. Hug your kid. Of course we're going to hug our kid, but when you're angry, do you want to hug? Not usually, but sometimes it really can help change that. It's simple, right? Hug, but not always easy. You need a hug. It's so bad. Yes. Yes, it is. It's terribly hard sometimes. But yeah. So basic self-care, being aware. Again, be aware of that anger. We don't always even recognize what we look like when we're angry. We wouldn't even want to see what we look like when we're angry sometimes. So just like trying to figure out how to take that step back and really see, okay, who am I being in this moment? Is this who I want to be? Is this who's going to be the best me for my kid in this moment? And my family. So the anger, it simmers and you're ready to get back on track. So this is where these bargaining, seeking solution kind of phase happens. So you're focusing on what can I do? What can I control? What's within it? So it feels good, like to seek out solutions. It's kind of exciting when I'm sure when you all start to hear about this foundation, you're like, oh my gosh, that's cool. Like this is something that can help me connect, can help me have some answers. Like that's good. Our brain is like, yes, give me more of that solution seeking. Um, so we look for it, we're going for it. And hopefully moving forward. We have to also trust sometimes in the standard of care. So you all have listened, to different talks and met different doctors, and I'm sure you've questioned plenty of different doctors, and thought, okay, maybe something else could be better. But we have to be able to try to, know that the experts, even though it's rare, it's hard. I was talking to the doctor, and he's like, I'm not an expert because who is? It's something so rare. You're the expert, but you don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. But trusting in, okay, if there's been research, this has been shown to help. That could be different than, okay, I'm going to do a Google search and find that if I do this, then that's going to be helpful. So weighing it out. I mean, I know again, absolutely, there's alternative therapies that can be very helpful for your child, but figuring out, am I looking for a solution that's going to work, or am I just looking for a miracle at this point? So we definitely bargain because it makes us feel like we have control. We do the whole thing of like, well, okay, if I change my life and I'm a better mother, then, please make my child be better. Or if I never say a mean thing again to my kid, then maybe they'll be better. We bargain with these things that doesn't help, not really. And these negotiation pieces get in the way sometimes. We have to trust in the experts when they're there. But we sometimes think, okay, maybe they're wrong. Maybe we know better. Again, back to that. But experts, we have to listen to what they're going. The bargaining and seeking, I mean, it can come back and forth. We hear something new. All right, well, maybe if I do this, it's going to be better. We're just trying to find what's best. So a lot of times once we've done the solution seeking and it doesn't work, that's where the depression really comes in. It's like, okay, you were riding on that brain wave of, oh, this is so exciting. This is something new. This is going to happen. This is going to make things so much better. And then it doesn't. So we hit the depression. So that's a normal response. We're running on empty at this point. Feeling like, okay, I have been through a lot, and you hit that piece where you're feeling like nothing else is going to work. So we have periods of depressive times or episodes in our lives. Most people do in response to major, life events and life changes. You lose a loved one. You get a diagnosis that you didn't expect. You, really think your life is going one way and something doesn't work out. So we have periods of time like that. Where we experience depression. So symptoms of depression are, having that depressed mood, just feeling sad, crying a lot. Loss of pleasure, that's a big one. Things that you have enjoyed in your life, you just don't enjoy anymore. A significant weight increase or decrease is another symptom of depression. Your sleep, you can have insomnia where you just can't sleep, or hypersomnia where you want to sleep all the time. Just no energy, poor motivation and decision-making skills. And also kind of this clinical depression can carry suicidal thoughts and ideations with it. So this clinical piece that we look at in practice is, okay, this is something that's lasting much longer than 6 months period of time. And it's affecting, it's the duration, so the length, and also the intensity, like how much. Because we all have days where we wake up and we're like, bleh, I don't want to do it today. I'm tired. I don't have the motivation. I just can't. It's when it continues and continues and you can't get up, you can't get out of bed, you can't take care of the things you're supposed to. Or you're just, running through the motions. Um, but you just, you don't care, that apathy, that lack of caring. So when that lasts longer, that's really when, okay, you need to look more. That's where you got to seek help. I mean, I think anybody, seek help in the beginning when you're not feeling great, because it can always be good to, talk to somebody. However, I also know how hard it is to get into a therapist sometimes. And then there's insurance, and then there's time. Again, another time. When can I fit this in my schedule with work and parent and everything else? I mean, there's now a lot more like telehealth options out there, which I think I mean, I don't love as a therapist, I don't love doing telehealth, but I think it's better than nothing. I love it. It's definitely consider um, like where you're finding that help at. Um, we often, because some of those places may not have totally credentialed individuals in the nicest way possible. And then that can give people a bad taste for therapy, because you feel like, okay, I've gone to this, I tried this, and then what in the world was that? But try it out. Don't let that scare you from it. Because telehealth, again, access is increased for everyone. You can maybe do it on your lunch break. You can do it. Some have evenings, even. Okay, they're already in bed. I have a little bit figuring it out. But starting also with maybe your primary care doctor is a good place to go. And hopefully you have one. Again, you've had one for yourself if you've taken care of your kids, but know when to that it's more. And if your partner or your family, again, here they come with their well-meaning, but they're telling you, hey, you're not yourself. I'm worried about you. That they know you. These people that know you and they're saying that, that's the time to maybe listen, especially for you. Like take care of you. Because we can't. Because think about, again, a depressed parent taking care of a child, any child. The child is not getting all of the things and all their needs met. So they, take care of you. But we're often too busy to recognize our own needs. We do the, oh, I'm fine. How you doing? Oh, I'm good. Fine. Just fine. And the world's burning around us, but recognize it. It takes a lot of strength to recognize it. It really does. And to say, can't do it on my own. So life is up and down. It really just is. And having those small bits of time where you're upset about things is okay. We have to be aware also of our brain's negativity bias. So as humans, we're kind of like, it's part of that survival again, is to think like, oh, the worst is going to happen. So it has those. We have these automatic negative thoughts about things that say, oh man, like I'm going to go and speak in front of these people and they're all going to think I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just playing in that ahead in my brain because that's what the brain tells us to do. But then we gotta combat that. We gotta say, wait, do I have any proof that these people think I'm an idiot? No, I'm here, so they probably think I'm okay. But our brains are wired like that to think of the worst case. And way back when, biologically speaking, we had to be ready. You had to be ready to take out, fight, flight, freeze. That all is in us. That worry is part of our, defense system there. So remembering again, depressive episodes happen. Like more than 15% of the US population will have a depressive episode in their lifetime. Women are 2 times as vulnerable than men. And I have my own theories about that, whether again, men are often underreported because of our society again saying men can't have these feelings and they need to be strong and don't show it, but no, you're in it too. And especially our generation that we're seeing more and more fathers involved with their families. It's a wonderful thing. But then we're still thinking, okay, they're going to be strong and they're not going to have their own feelings about it. No, they do. And those should be validated too. Um, so one piece of like when you notice the negative thoughts, so what we call is negative thought stopping. So recognizing that a lot of this, and these are just brief therapy strategies of just recognizing our own thoughts and feelings. We don't think about what we think and challenge it. So I'm sure all of you have watched sports of some kind. So when you're watching sports on TV, or even sometimes at the game, you hear the announcers, and the announcers are telling you what's happening in this game. And so we are just naturally biased by what they say. But if you turn off that, you're at home, you turn off the volume and you watch the game yourself, you're going to make your own judgment about what's happening. And so that's the same with our thoughts. Our thoughts are like this running narrative of what we think, what we feel. But are those always true? They're not. They're not always true. They are a lot of times very biased. And so if we step back and say, okay, like as I'm walking, a lot of times, when young people are always worried about what other people think. I mean, okay, older people are too. We all are. But especially teenagers, very egocentric. And they're thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's looking at me. They notice that I got this little spot of toothpaste on my shirt and they think that I'm ridiculous. I mean, and do most of people notice that? No, because they're tuned in on themselves too, worrying about what they think. And so we do that also as humans. We have to be able to think about it and put it back in perspective of like, we all got our own stuff going on. All of our brains are going like this. And that doesn't mean, that I'm thinking at you or about you or you. You're usually thinking about your own situation. So yes. So building that emotional strength, that MCBT is that mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy. Then there is meditation practices, self-compassion, like again, caring about yourself, taking that time to say, even to say like, I'm proud of myself for handling the things that I have, for being able to get myself out of bed this morning, take my kid to this therapy and then this therapy, and then make it back and make dinner. Be proud of yourself for some of that stuff. Have self-compassion. Think of what your best friend would say to you. When you're upset about something, we look at it a different way than, okay, if my best friend is giving me advice, they're going to say, you got this. You're doing a great job. And we have to do that to ourselves. So yeah, change your perception, build positive ways for your brain to handle this stress. Got my 5 minutes. So here, let's hurry. So we moved in finally, once we've made it past depression, to this active acceptance. So acceptance, over time, the brain adapts to situations that can seem tragic or unbearable. Hearing something numerous times over and over and over again, we become accustomed. We repeat, we react in more predictable ways. So that's that habituation. Our brain adapts to the thoughts and the feelings. We get the habituation because we've heard it over and over again. And then we become desensitized by a lot of the things that we're handling. Like in the beginning, you're like, how am I ever going to make it to this therapy, this therapy, this therapy, this school, this appointment, this and that? But then you start doing it and you do it, right? And then it's another day. We're more desensitized to it. So you just, and that happens with our kids too. Like in the beginning, you think, oh my gosh, everybody's looking at me. We got this outburst happening. They're judging me. Then after, you're just like, this is life. This is our life. So it's more of this acceptance. And it's okay to have conflicting emotions, both joy and sorrow in the times, where you feel like, oh, some days you're going to feel this is great. We have come so far and look at this. This is great. I am blessed and privileged to be the parent of this child. And other days you're going to still have that sorrow of, okay, this isn't what I expected it to be. This is not what I wanted for my child, but it's okay. You find both of those emotions, name them, talk about them. It's okay. And we have to let go of those expectations that are predetermined, that our society tells us to have. Being able to say, all right, like, It may not be that, but it's going to be something beautiful. And often we find this growth. So a lot of times we hear about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So on the other hand, they're learning more and doing more research about post-traumatic growth, where people have positive changes after this trauma, where you know, rise from the ashes and you create it. So things like this foundation and other places that are saying like, okay, we're taking this and we're going to create something big and better. And we have this growth and you grow as a person. You know, when you are having to step back and really reevaluate what your life is going to look like and recreate it, you grow. And as a family, you know, that's so important too. I know I didn't talk a lot about siblings. I know you've had other things about that too, but the siblings, they're a huge part of it, and they need to also feel as much a part of it. You know, I've worked with kids who are the sibling and sometimes just felt like, okay, we don't get as much attention. So making sure that, you know, your family is all together and you have those special times too, I think is so important. So focus on the relationships, parents together, caregivers, whoever the partners are, you guys have to take time for the other ones. Yeah. So all this can lead to, you know, just greater compassion in your life and strength. And you're building that emotional thing. You know, you think, you know, if you go to the gym every day and you get like the weights do not get lighter, you just get stronger. So the more that we carry our day-to-day lives, we get stronger too. You build up that emotional strength, which is so important. And so last one. So focus on that self-compassion, not self-blame. You know, it's not going to be good to say, you know, what did I do wrong? Why? But more of like, okay, here I am. And I was given this for a reason and I can handle this. I'm doing a great job. Find those communities, family, friends, religious communities, cultural communities, support groups like this. Take time to work on your relationship with your partner. Take time to learn more about your school system and the local services. I know not every area has those, you know, have great resources or have navigational places that are. And maybe you have to be someone who, you know, is more of a pioneer for that. But, and find meaning in the diagnosis. You know, you are the parent of this child. And what does that mean for you? So yeah. So build on some things and start building some of those things. Yeah, I have a question. Yeah. 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 Right. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. And for Zoom, if you need to hear that, you know, she just said recognizing, you know, that the different um milestones that you hit are going to be different, but still finding the joy in what they are doing. All right. Thank you.
Hey guys, I know that there's probably a lot of questions and discussion that still wants to happen on this. So good news. At 11 o'clock, we have a roundtable with Alyse. So you guys can ask your questions there and have your conversations there. We did decide to make one change. So we are going to move the roundtables to the ballroom because we have 5 of them going on at the same time. And the ABA session will be in this room. So if you're going to go to a roundtable, head to the ballroom. Otherwise, you can hang out in here.